ለልሞች ስልክ እንቅልፌ መነሳት ጀንበሬን የሚፈታተነውን እምድን ለመንሳት የውስጤን ለመናገር የማላፈር ነኝ ብርቱ ከሩቅ ለሚመለከቱ ሆኜ ትንግርቱ
Just to start, as Ellie said, I'll be talking about some of the conservation efforts that we're doing here in Ethiopia to conserve some of our threatened species. And I'll be particularly talking about the Liben lark and the white-winged flufftail. So yeah, as Ellie said, I've been doing some internships and some fieldworks outside of Ethiopia, internships just to get my skills, just to develop my skills, especially ringing, raptor migration work, and other ecological surveys. But more recently, I've been focusing on threatened species that are found especially in outside of protected areas, especially. So I hope you can see the images.
Yeah, we see it nicely.
Okay, so just to say a bit about Ethiopia, it's very well known for its mountains and very high elevations, and it has very nice scenery, but it has also very low areas, even 130 meters below sea level. So that makes it very diverse, very good for different types of biodiversity. So some of the forests that we have, like the Harana forest, are very well suited for high biodiversity, for amphibians, different types of mammals. And, you know, we also have a vast extent of the Rift Valley, which is very good for our migrant birds. And when you go high up in the highlands, you will see endemic mammals like this Ethiopian wolf, which are very nice to see. And some of our endemic birds as well, like the bush crow down in the south. Ethiopia is also has good numbers of vultures in different parts of the country. So yeah, you'll get to see different, like large congregations of vultures. Of course, it's decreasing now, but it has fairly good numbers of vultures. We also have our own alphabet. We love coffee. We love to enjoy our coffee the traditional way. And of course, we're known for our running next to Kenya. We always compete. And we have the Orthodox religion and the Muslim religion, which is very in high numbers in Ethiopia. And if you get to come, you'll also get to experience the cultural aspect of it and the rock-hewn church like the ones in Lalibela. So when we come to looking at, as we said, like we have lots of good biodiversity, but we also have very huge population, more than 120 million now. And our government, of course, focuses on agriculture, and hence we're losing lots of habitats, lots of good habitats for our birds. So when looking at our threatened birds, we have about 36 threatened birds, but yeah, the critically endangered birds, which I focus on, we have 7 of them. So I'll be talking about 2. So I first got interested on working on the Liben lark when I saw this publication in 2009, saying that the species could be Africa's first recorded avian extinction, which was shocking. So I was very involved with the BirdLife partner in Ethiopia. They got me in contact with the group that was working very closely on this project. So got to join the team. This was in 2008 or 2009, I think. So just to tell you a bit about what the area looks like. It's part of the Borana rangelands. And it's known to have very high grazing potential for our cattle, even for other parts of the country as well. And it used to be managed with the traditional Geda system, which had a very good system of managing the rangelands. But then in the 70s, some of the development interventions, without having proper discussion with the community, placed some of the settlements, some of the ponds in different parts of the rangelands, which kind of ended up in degrading the rangelands and disrupting the traditional way of managing the rangelands. So, and on top of that, cultivation also started in the 1970s in some parts of the rangelands. And because of some fires that were being started in different parts of the forest, in other parts of the country, the government banned burning. However, they also banned any type of burning, which was really bad for our grasslands. So since it used to help us to control the bushes, the ticks, the rangeland quality used to be high because of the grassland burning, but this was prohibited by the government. So it ended up further degrading the rangelands. And on top of that, of course, there's the climate change and recurrence of drought in the rangelands, which further exacerbated the situation. But the place that I'm telling you about, it's part of the Borana rangelands. It's called the Liben Plains. It's an IBA, it's an important bird and biodiversity area. And it's also part of our Southern Highlands endemic bird areas. So you can find 6 endemics in a larger area, of course, but this area is very localized and specialized, especially for the Liben lark. And the Liben lark is an ancestral species. It's from the Heteromirafra genus, and there are only 2 species in this genus, the Liben lark and the Rudd's lark in South Africa. So just to show you what this beautiful bird looks like. So it is very highly camouflaged. It looks, especially when it runs through the rangelands, it's really hard to trace, and it has very long hind claws. But of course, it's really hard for us to spot when we're doing the transects, especially during the wet season. It becomes easier because the males would be displaying and going above the grasses, about 10, 15 meters above the grasses, do their nice songs, and then you'd see them going down. So that's when we spot the birds. So we wanted to know more about the Liben lark, what its threats were, how it's distributed, actually its habitat requirements were, and of course, wanted to know how the land use was changing over time. So data has been collected even before I started my graduate studies. The team I told you about, especially the ones from UK and Kenya and here from Ethiopia, they were doing the surveys since 2007. So these were some of the transects that we were using since 2007 to survey the larks. It's a very small area, actually. It's like less than 40 kilometers square. So when doing the surveys, we wanted to look at if there are any trees or fennels in that 25 meters square, and to see if there are any ant nests or paths that people were using or cattle were using, and if it was affecting the distribution of the birds. And in a smaller patch, we wanted to look at if there were any small bushes in the area, if there were cow paths, to see if the cattle were, disturbing this, like how big an impact it had, the amount of bare ground in the smaller area. And we also were estimating the height of the different grass types to see what type the birds were. So overall, all over the years, we kind of found that the birds would not be found near the bushes or the trees or in areas which had very high cover of bare ground. And they were selecting areas near ant nests. They didn't mind the ant nests, and they were, of course, avoiding the paths and the tracks. And when we look at the land use changes, especially focusing on the crop agriculture, when looking at Landsat images from back in the 70s all the way to the 2019, we'd see that the agriculture started coming in the 1990s, And if you see, the dashed lines are black soil, because with the pastoralists, they did not want to farm, but they were okay with farming on the black soil. So that started much earlier in the 1990s. But then as you see in the graph, since starting from 2007, you'd see that the crops started coming in on the red soil as well. And also the black soils are not being farmed because they're already saturated. All of them, all of the black soil patches are farmed. So we see that there's an increase in farms in the red soil area. So in the publication that we had in 2021, well, some of the major results that we had were that the population fell from around 279 males, singing males, to around 51 in just a short time. And when we were estimating the number of singing males, it was 3.2 singing birds per kilometer square, and that went down to 0.7 singing birds per kilometer square. And this showed that there was a 80% decline in population from the start of the surveys to 2019. And we lost about 40% of the grassland habitats just due to crop agriculture, mainly in the red soil, that is, in just a short time. So several works were being done by the BirdLife Partner and other organizations to set up grass enclosures in order to make sure that the grass would be tall enough for the birds to nest in, and then they could be used. It could be used by the local people after, you know, the birds have already finished nesting. And of course, there were several efforts to help stop the agriculture, which is what I'm also trying to recommend further, because things keep on changing, because there's insecurity in the area, there's recurrent droughts in the area, so it's very hard to keep on maintaining these things. So, you know, even clearing most of the acacia scrub would also help to revert some of the places back to grasslands. And we'd also need to maintain the quality of grassland, because, you know, once it's overgrazed, the quality of grassland also goes down. And of course, it would be very helpful to revive back the Gada system, because they had a very good system of resting the land. They had wet grazing areas and dry season grazing areas, which used to be very helpful. So now moving on to the next species, very hard. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a much more elusive species, the white-winged flufftail. You could see one individual nesting. You could see the nests in the background. So this species, it's actually nesting records were found in 1997 in Ethiopia, but it's actually a species that's found in South Africa, and it also migrates and breeds in Ethiopia as well. So during that time, when the nests records were found, there was a site support group set up by the BirdLife Partner, and there were several surveys that were being done. The community was being supported in one of the sites, and different community works were being done by different organizations. However, the efforts started becoming inconsistent after a while. So this project I did for my fellowship, and we were trying to determine if the species, the white-winged flufftail, was found in 3 sites in Bilaja, Waserbi, and Berga. And we wanted to raise awareness and do some education work with the kids, and of course, have some discussions with stakeholders. So when we look at the Bilaja site, which is not very far from one of our main sites in Ethiopia, we did a survey with the South African team that came and joined us in 2018. And this site is much smaller, a very small site, and we were able to find 1 nest each year in 2017 and 2018. However, when we went back in 2019, it was very much overgrazed. We couldn't find the birds or the nests anywhere. The other side, which was much more better in the early 2000s, especially, where we went and checked in 2019. Another team actually went and checked in 2018 as well, but we couldn't find any birds there. So our main site is the Berga site. We did some work in 2018 and 2019 there. So just to tell you a bit about the site, you could see the yellowish area is where there's a cattle ranch in that area. And one of the advantages that we had was this area, like this, the bird, they migrate during the wet season for our country. So during that time, it's not allowed to graze cattle. The community is not allowed to, put the cattle in the grassland in that area. So it kind of became a place where the flufftails come and breed every year. And the surrounding pinkish area that you see is, some of them are communal areas, and some are privately owned grazelands. So we had our transects all over trying to see where we would find the birds. So the flufftails, as I said, were very elusive, very hard to survey. So any chance of us seeing them would be walking the transects and flushing them. But yeah, we were able to find about 13 birds and 11 nests during that time. And you could see that most of the birds are found on the right side of the river here. In 2019, we saw that we found about 10 birds, 9 nests, and even 2 nests that were with chicks already hatched. So when you see the 2 years, you'll see that there was a shift of the birds from the right side of the river in 2018 to the left side. So the right side was supposed to be where the cattle ranch, the government ranch place was, and they had shifted more to where the private grazing areas were. And looking at why that was, so there was political instability during that time, and the cattle had encroached in the core areas. They were grazing in areas that were previously prohibited for the community to graze. So this led to the shift of the birds. So when we look at the site, there's lots of overgrazing, lots of soil erosion. The hills are don't have much trees now, and most of the places are also being converted to eucalyptus plantations, because people can get much more money by planting eucalyptus instead of farms or just having grasslands. They don't value it much. And of course, sometimes, not having awareness about the nesting site of the birds also was affecting it. But we had some opportunities as well. Some of the kids who spend their time there, most of them, the herders, they were very interested in what we were doing. They wanted to learn what we were doing. So that kind of made us to decide to focus mostly on the kids. So we kind of did a education program in 4 surrounding schools around the wetland. So yeah, we were surprised to hear that, even in the local language, the bird is called Simbiro Berga, according to the site. But most of the kids were not aware that the bird is unique there, it nests there. And, even there, one of the schools was built because of the bird project that was going on, but because of the inconsistent efforts, the kids were not aware. So it was good to work with them and to get them excited. And after that, we saw that some small kids, when we were doing some surveys, they went and showed us, they said that they have found the bird. So this was one of the girls who found the nests. So it was on her parents' private grazing land. So they were able to protect the nests until they fledged. And this was another nest that a few kids found, and we were really we thought that it was like something unusual. And when we went and saw it, it's because the kids, they put cow dung around the grass so that, you know, cattle do not come, because apparently they don't come near where the cow paths are. So when we went like to the back of this, you can't see it in the picture, but there was the flufftail was still there with the eggs quite comfortably sitting there. So we kind of arranged an award ceremony for these kids. You could see their proud fathers behind this. These were the 4 girls who were protecting 3 nests actually that they found. So yeah, and you could see Aster, who did lots of work with the community. She was based at the BirdLife Partner in Ethiopia. And then Malcolm from South Africa, who helped to, from the Middle Punt, he helped to fund one of the schools in the Greatlands. So they come and give the awards to the kids, which was very encouraging. So we're thinking about, we're working with Open Hearts, Big Dreams. It's an organization that does books for kids. So we're currently working on a storybook for one story focused on the flufftails, telling about the story about how it comes from South Africa and how it nests there, how this place is special. So we're planning to publish that soon and work with the kids before the migration this year. And yeah, we had a stakeholder workshop as well to discuss what would be the next steps. And yeah, we had a meeting in South Africa. They are doing really good work in South Africa with the species, and yeah, about the next steps, what the country can do. So regarding the flufftail, yeah, it's very important that we protect the habitat, especially when they're breeding, just to make until they finish their breeding, at least to make sure that the nests are not disturbed, have regular surveys to make sure we know where the nests are. Education program is very important. The kids can really be really supportive with this. And of course, alternative livelihoods for the community would be very important. So yeah, in conclusion, yeah, we're losing lots of habitat, lots of species, especially the ones that are outside of national parks, not getting much attention. But we do need to build lots of capacity. We don't have much birders or researchers here in Ethiopia. Our database is not centralized. We don't have a citizen science program. We are planning to start. But yeah, even resources like bird guidebooks, trainings and everything. Yeah, of course, the African Bird Club app is really helpful now. Some of the students are using it now in universities and everything. But yeah, we do need lots of training and materials to get people, more into this. And yeah, environmental education, raising awareness, and trying to convince the governments that we need this would be very important. Sorry. And I'd like to thank Nigel Collar, Paul Donald. They've helped me so much in my career. Stuart Marsden, Hugh Lloyd, and people from the BirdLife Partner, especially Yilma Delele, Chan, and some of the I got along the way, which has helped me to further my career and my university. And Ellie, thank you for this opportunity. This was very helpful, and thank you everyone for listening. And if you have any questions, I'd be very happy. Thanks.